I'm Jake.
And I'm Noah.
Here for Extreme Terrain, and today we're doing something a little bit different and interesting. We got our 2024 JL in recently, and Jeep has claimed that they've made improvements to noise, vibration, and harshness. They've put more sound deadening in it to make the Wrangler a bit more refined and a bit more of a nicer thing to drive. So we're going to put that to the test today.
So what we're actually going to do is drive both on the same loop, and one thing to point out is these guys are actually on the same exact tires as well. What we're going to do is record some audio inside the cab. We're going to talk about our thoughts, and we're going to use a decibel meter for some scientific testing to see if there's actually a difference between these two.
Now, it's worth noting that this one, our 2018, is a two-door Sport. This one is a four-door Sahara, but they're about as close. I really don't think it's gonna make much of a difference. Before we get into it, if you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. We've got a lot more stuff coming, especially on the 24 JL, so make sure you're subscribed. And with that, I think we're ready. So let's hop in the 2018 and hit the road.
Yeah.
So we're out on some streets right now, some surface roads. We're gonna drive a little bit, take a decibel reading, and then we're going to do the same thing out on the highway, and then we're going to repeat that process in the 24.
So of course, the main thing and the biggest thing we're going to look for differences for today is in NVH, or noise, vibration, and harshness. It's basically just little rattly things in the cabin, how much road noise you get, if you're getting any wind noise at the windshield. And this decibel meter right here is going to give us a pretty good idea of if they actually made any differences or not. So let's fire this thing up and just get a pretty basic reading, you know, driving around those surface roads. Here we go.
Let's go for it.
All right, it seems to be hovering right around like 66, 67. That's our driving around. When you hit a pothole, I will say it does jump to around 70.
Yeah.
The thud tends to lie right around 70.
Yeah.
But just your average, noise in the cabin from driving around, it's pretty mild.
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad.
Now, that was a steady 45 miles an hour down that road as well. So I was trying to keep it exactly at the right speed, and I was, for the record, not avoiding potholes for that reason, because we want to see what we're going to hit. You hit potholes out on the road, so we're not going to avoid them today. Now, I am getting some rattles and some wind noise up here in the corner, which is typical for these hardtops. Now, they're not a perfect seal. This one also got a few years on it, so the seals are not perfect. Probably the most stark thing that I'm noticing is that I still am getting some noise coming up through the footwells. That's probably where most of it is. And I think that's where, if we're going to see a difference, that's where it's going to be.
Down in there.
Because they didn't, the hardtop, we looked at it already. It's basically the same thing. There's no insulation on it. They didn't option that for this particular one that we're going to drive.
Sure.
And Jeep said that down in the footwell, around the firewall area, that's where they put more sound deadening.
Sure, yeah. So the biggest difference is going to be from down there. Well, without further ado, let's get this thing on the highway and get a reading.
Yeah, let's do it.
Some lovely traffic on these Pennsylvania highways.
Not too bad though, thankfully. Although, already hearing a lot more noise.
Quite a lot more.
Especially from the corners.
Yeah, corners of the hardtop, and I'm getting a lot, actually like quite a bit of noise and vibration in my feet. You can do the mechanic test, put your feet flat on the floor and try to feel for the...
Yeah, well, I can only do one of those right now.
Okay, well, yeah.
I
I can do both.
All right, well, we'll take your word for it.
You're going to get a reading?
Yeah, I'm hearing the noise coming up from here too.
Definitely. Maybe I held it about here. Let's make sure we're doing that. You ready?
Yep.
So I'm getting about 72. That's where it's sitting.
That was about a steady state 65 mile an hour cruise.
Okay. So 72 decibels, 65 miles an hour.
That's not bad, really.
It's not bad, but there is a noticeable difference between, maybe getting on the highway, it is definitely louder.
Oh, yeah.
And this is going to be interesting because that's our baseline. Now we can compare it to the 2024 and see if it's actually changed or not.
I'm wondering how much all of that is going to make, because again, the hardtop is the same.
Yeah.
Now, this is on the stock tires as well. I think it's worth noting too, and you pointed out that this and the JL, the 24 JL that we're going to drive, are on the same brand and model of tire. So,
disclaimer.
Yes.
Mud tires, 33s, 35s. It's going to be a lot louder. Well, what do you say we hop in the 2024 and see what that's like?
Yeah, let's do it.
So here we are in the 2024. First impressions, I do think it's a little bit quieter in here.
Definitely. I don't think I'm hearing as much coming up from those floorboards, so.
It does kind of sound like this is in overdrive or a really high gear. because the engine does, kind of rumble and bog a little bit. But I think yeah, there it is. That low end noise is pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Rolling at about 45.
The engine seems a little bit quieter in this too. Now that might also be a function of the 18 is a few years older, has some miles on it. This one is pretty much brand spanking new.
I'm doing the one-footed mechanics test because I'm driving. I do feel a little bit less vibration as well. Now again, that could be, it is a brand new car. I mean, this is brand new. Like as new as it gets, brand new.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the exact same loop we just did in 2018. Do the same back road and then the same stretch of highway as well.
Well, we're coming up on the stretch of the back road here. We can get a similar sound with the same potholes even.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
So we'll fire this boy up and let it go for a moment. So that's actually hovering right around like 64, 65.
Okay.
When we're not actively hitting a bump. And then when we hit a pothole, it would jump up to like 68. So the 2018 was like 66 to 70.
OSHA actually posted an article where it shows how much of a difference there is between decibel amounts. And a 3 decibel difference, according to OSHA, is a noticeable difference in volume. And then a 5 decibel difference is actually a very noticeable difference in volume.
Right.
If we're hovering right around that 3 to 5 decibel mark difference,
it's not tomb silent in here.
it's not a completely different vehicle. It still feels like a Jeep.
It still feels and sounds like a JL does. But if you've driven one before and you put some seat time in one, it is going to be noticeable to you, I would think.
I will say the press release, it reads like it's going to be like a vacuum chamber.
Yes.
Not a vacuum chamber, but significant difference.
But of course, the manufacturer wants to hype it up a little bit.
Sure.
They put the time and the research and development into doing this. And I'm not saying that it isn't noticeable, because it is. And again, really the noticeable thing is coming from the floorboards down here.
Certainly.
I can feel it. Even though this one has floor mats, carpet is about the same. But you can tell there's not as much road noise coming up from there.
Yeah.
So,
nor as much vibration or harshness. I mean, even going over the potholes, I feel like there's a difference in the cringe factor. You know what I mean? Let's get this thing on the highway and see how much of a difference there is in that, on that front.
So here we are at a steady state cruise on the highway, doing about 65 miles an hour. I'm going to stop talking. Okay, so that's hovering right around like 68, 69.
So lower.
So it is a little bit lower. Again, not much. Now, it is interesting because now that we're out here again, driving this, we've also got some traffic going by, which is not really helping our case, but this is what y'all are going to experience driving. You can hear, and the meter does spike when a car goes by.
Sure. So it's not an isolation chamber.
No, definitely not. It is a little bit quieter.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a big difference in windshield noise. Like, maybe it's just because I was in the passenger seat before, now I'm really paying attention to what's going on in front of me. But it is a different glass.
It is a different glass. This is the Corning Gorilla Glass, because that's now standard on everything from Sport S up. The Sport that we just drove didn't have that. I'm not hearing as much from the top either, from this general area, like right at the top of the windshield. Because in the 18, I was hearing a lot more from the corners, especially.
I feel like that could change once you've pulled the hardtop on and off a lot, and those gaskets start to not to fail, but to get worn out. So I'd say it's a success, and it's a noticeable difference. I mean, again, 3 to 5 decibels, that's a big difference according to OSHA.
It's a little less of a difference on the highway than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But again, the biggest thing is, I keep going back to it, where they put the sound insulation, you can notice a difference. What they did worked. It did something, and it does feel noticeably a little less harsh. So what they did for noise, vibration, and harshness, I think I would call it a success.
Don't expect to get in this and just be like, oh my word, I feel disconnected from the outside world.
No, not at all.
This does make it a little bit more, not that the 2018 isn't livable, but
it's a little more pleasant.
Yeah.
It's a bit more of a pleasant place to be in. And all the other changes that they've made. Results are in. Hypothesis is proven.
The 24 is definitely quieter inside. That whatever they did, the sound deadening, all the other stuff they improved, I think it made a difference.
For sure. I actually think between these two, I think I'd choose the 2024 just because of that.
If you guys have had a similar experience, if you've driven a 24, if you've got one, especially if you came out of an earlier JL, let us know in the comments what your experience has been. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it around. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. We've got a lot more coming on this 24 and beyond too, so make sure you're staying tuned for all that.
And of course, for all things Jeep, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.